January has opened 2019 with an up-close and personal pair of eclipses, January 5th and January 20th, that forced into the open things that, well, perhaps we rather not see. But the theme is ongoing, but right now emphasized, that we are bringing into the light ways in which we have abused our power in any kind of form, whether it's treacherous greed, political chicanery, criminality, sexual abuse, drug and alcohol abuse. There is a long list. Now, Capricorn dominates the scene for 2019 because of Sheriff Saturn and Pluto, the Lord of the Underworld, being in Capricorn, and throughout this year, closing the gap between them because they're going to meet up by the end of this 2019. And what will that mean for us? There are restrictive and limiting structures, sort of the old way of doing things in the hierarchical realm, that are simply crumbling and falling away. And our gift for this is the far-seeing and sure-footedness of Capricorn energy. Hi, I'm Judith Royal, archetypal astrologer, and this is your astrological weather forecast for the week of January 28th to February 3rd, 2019. We are in the cycle of the moon cycle that began with the new moon, a solar eclipse in Capricorn on January the 5th. And now this week, the January 28th to February 3rd, we're in that fourth quarter phase, approaching the new moon, but we're not quite there yet this week. It will come on Monday, February the 4th, in the sign of humanitarian Aquarius. And so in this particular week, we are in the summing up and also the gathering of a wisdom from all that we have learned in the past, well, in 2019 so far. I have watched it happen over and over, have it proven that when we watch the cyclical patterns in the canopy of stars over our heads, their consistency, the patterns that they form, are a map that has guided us for eons, for sailors at sea, for explorers in the wilderness, for wise men on camels, and for any of us who are lost in a place that we know is not our home. So in the stars, in the astrology, there is no duality. That's why it's particularly uplifting and takes us beyond the world of the ego. Because there we have these unified rhythms of the celestial bodies rotating around one light, around the sun. And I think that is the metaphor for how we want to live our lives here on earth, in which we remember our one source, and that is not only the source of life, but our guiding star. So just imagine this, if you're standing on the moon watching the earth, from that perception, Earth, of course, has no borders, no dividing lines, no need for walls or fences separating countries or oceans. There are no demarcations, nothing that is dividing lines. Now, when we fall back to Earth, however, we're in the world of duality. And why? Because here we have a belief in separation. We act as if our thoughts are as separate as our bodies appear to be. And of course, that's not true. So in the astrology, I'm an archetypal astrologer, so I always look for what is on the world stage that reflects to us what is being mirrored in the stars. And this week I thought the archetype of Atlas from Ayn Rand's book, Atlas Shrugged, is a great uplifting example of how we can transcend the tensions that the recent turning points are bringing to all of us. So the story of Atlas Shrugged, of course, is the story of John Galt, the philosopher and the inventor, who, using the power and glory of the human mind, his vision was that we would have a philosophy governing us, a better world, that was called objectivism. And that is so perfect because Capricorn, the mountain goat who sits atop K2, it is the objective view that is our great gift right now. Through Capricorn, we are far-seeing and we are sure-footed. And so I saw this archetype manifest when I was looking at just some news headlines this week. On the day of the third quarter moon in Scorpio, remember, was last Sunday, the 27th, and that in the lunar cycle is always the time of some rather serious pruning between you and the outer world, in which you try to reconcile whether or not you are still chasing a goal, working on a goal that is true, authentic to your authentic self. So anyway, on the day of that third quarter moon, there was a news story by a guy named Glenn, Altshuler. And this was triggered by all this bipartisan partisan politics we're watching. But he took a story and wove it through time, all the way back to Thomas Jefferson and his 1801 inaugural address, in which he called for unity and the dissolution of political parties. It's so beautiful. He said, actually, although we are called by different names, we are brethren of the same principle. So that principle is what we want to still have in our lives. So it's cycled around many times, but it's with us very prominently now as an old order is dying off, and we're getting rid of these old hierarchical structures. In your own life, the same thing is, of course, true. You can feel, especially you did between those eclipses, tensions that want to bring you, sort of force us, it feels like that, to a turning point where you free yourself from the limitations of an authority. That's some authority figure. It can even be the dictator in your mind, that little ego voice who's always imposing heavy burdens, restrictions that limit your freedom. And we're becoming quite impatient with that, that's especially true this week, before that next week's new moon, where we want to shrug off, like Atlas, the heavy responsibilities that when you really look at them, they may not even belong to you, right? So how will you find where this is in your own life? I'm going to suggest that you look for places in your life where you know you are spread too thin. That's where a crisis is going to occur that forces you to let go. And I use force, I don't mean that in the you don't have free will sense. I mean, after all, this is the map of your own soul anyway. So you've chosen for this to happen now because that crisis that occurs, and I'm sure lots of things showed up in January that tell you about that, but it's your clue of what you need to shrug off. Now, how do you pull that off? The shrugging part and the letting go part? Well, it is with far-seeing It is with being objective. Now let's personalize this for you. I'm going to walk you through the coming week, helping you listen for your own sun sign, your own moon sign, and how compatible or incompatible it might be with this week's signs, given that we're listening to the elements. Fire, earth, air, and water makes it really easy. We begin the week with the moon still in Scorpio, left over from that last quarter square. And on Monday, we have a gift from the Scorpio moon and from Neptune in visionary Pisces. That's the gift of incredible intuition that is out and out clairvoyant. So here you can use your lunar sonar, your empathy, your ability to reach out in compassion and feel your way into your own self, where you can learn to have more compassion for what you've been carrying that is weighting you down, that is limiting your own options. Now the moon moves into fiery Sagittarius on Tuesday the 29th. And remember, Tuesdays are the just do it days. They're ruled by Mars, so they're days usually of taking action. And on this day, the Aquarius sun meets up with Mercury, who is now the messenger planet, who is now also in Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign, so this is a day of talk, 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 and messages. So communicate, especially communicate with your own self to know what you do really believe here. So you have a solar-powered mind on Tuesday, and the moon is still in Sagittarius on Wednesday the 30th. And now a little fog rolls in on your intuition, so you can put that aside, not put it aside, but it's not as reliable as your intellect today. The moon is going to run into Jupiter, who's been in Sagittarius since last November. And the moon does this, bringing us much more optimism. We're feeling much better about ourselves and the world we live in. And it is a great day to take action on the intuitive visions that you got yesterday or throughout this year. And Thursday, that's the day that is ruled by Jupiter. So it's the give it away day. It's the day of gratitude, remembering how fortunate we are, how much of a cornucopia of blessings has been offered to us always, and especially this year. And Thursday, the moon runs into Venus and also makes a beautiful harmony with the god of lightning. So this is effervescence. This is a very sparkling day, so wonderful for making some surprising, heartfelt connections with other people. And then Friday, the moon moves into Capricorn, and of course I've been talking a lot about Capricorn, so you can guess this is the time when the moon is going to join up with Sheriff Saturn and is going to make an aspect on Saturday with powerful Pluto. So these 2 days are signals, they are clues in the year-long map of what I was talking about earlier, the right use of power, the right use of your power, certainly to claim it, right? And then on Saturday, the moon's still in Capricorn, but Venus is going to make a trine to the god of lightning. And that is new love. That is new love, then the renewal of love and a relationship, friendship, that is characterized by freedom, is characterized by adventure, because Venus is in that venturous sign of Sagittarius. Then on Sunday, the moon late in the day moves into Aquarius, so you'll be starting to get the warm-up for the new moon on Monday. And by warm-up, what I mean is this is the time, the balsamic time, when you are a philosopher, right? You are a philosopher king. You are predictive. You are able to download your own personal prophecy for what is going to start or renew on the new moon Monday. And on Sunday, another shift happens because Venus leaves fiery Sagittarius and goes into Capricorn. So here, our love and our friendships take on a practical air. We are looking for stability, commitment, long-term commitment, and we are looking for safety and security. Ordinarily, our heart's desire, our relationships are characterized with Venus by warmth and the comfort of love, how much you're loved, how much love you give. But Venus in Capricorn is quite practical. However, that's the theme, remember, being objective, seeing things for the distance. So what is your purpose in being in a relationship? That's the key question that you can answer now and in the next month with Venus in Capricorn. Now, on the road ahead, we always want to watch the synchronicities because that's the signposts on our road. And that new moon on Monday, I want you to get prepared because ordinarily the new moon in Aquarius would be very intellectual. We would be tossing around a lot of ideas, and we will be doing that. However, the god of lightning has gotten in on this, and the Uranus is still in Aries, not much longer, but making a square, bringing us this internal tension between a rebellious feeling that we want to make a break for freedom versus the age-old stability of the same old, or the lovely structure that you have built in your life. However, I think itchy and perhaps impulsive desires for freedom are going to win over the sensibility and integrity of Capricorn because the god of lightning is joined by warrior Mars for this new moon, and together they lead us, and their energies are going to dominate. Now, we're still guided by Yoda's wisdom, do or do not, there is no try. All of the planets are still in forward motion and will be until that March 6th date. Remember, I asked you to put that on your calendar because everything changes. It's a brand new 7-year cycle. And we still have lots of breath for fresh air with the Aquarius Sun and Mercury, so we can keep taking those deep breaths. And I was reminded of a guy that I admire so much. He was an avid student of the Course in Miracles. He wrote a book called Notes to Myself, and in it, Hugh Prather said, "Don't strive for love, be it." So be love. And his solution for any tension, for any moment of anxiety or fear, is pause in peace and act in awareness. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back with you next week. Bye for now.